if you want to scale quickly, I'm going to give you pretty much five steps in order to do that. One is your mindset shift. First, you really have to accept that there's plenty of fish in the sea.
Are you ready to make your law firm a profit-generating machine that will free up your time and skyrocket your impact? With more than 2 decades of business growth experience and having proven that you can be successful while prioritizing your family and your impact, introducing the Profit with Law podcast. I am your host, the creator of the Firm Differentiator 10X Effect, Moshe Amsel. Hello and welcome to another amazing guest interview here on the Profit with Law podcast. I'm your host, Moshe Amsel, and today I sometimes say I have a treat for you, but today I really have a treat for you because our guest today is Sam Mollaei. Sam was here on the podcast, and he did an episode with us, getting over 1,000 Google reviews with Sam Mollaei. And I don't know when that was recorded because my team gave me the repeat of that. So episode 131 was the replay of that. The original episode was even before that. And that is our most popular podcast episode, over 300 episodes recorded. It is the most downloaded episode in our podcast library. And people just love that conversation that we had. And the conversation that we have today is going to be 1,000 times better than that conversation. So you want to stay tuned. You want to keep your ears open. You want to hear what we're going to talk about. Sam is an amazing, incredible individual. He is a law firm owner. He has developed a process using the ClickFunnels internet funnel marketing strategy. And not just that, but the way to develop your entire law firm to be able to make everything repeatable and amazing. And with it, I don't know how many of you are familiar, but there's a fellow by the name of Russell Brunson. Russell Brunson created and is the owner of ClickFunnels, which is a software company to create these internet marketing funnels. And Russell has a massive following because he's an amazing marketer. He's written multiple books, really a wonderful individual. But he developed this award called the 2 Comma Club Award. And the 2 Comma Club Award basically means that you have developed a funnel that runs on his software and have brought in $1 million of revenue in through that funnel. That's hence the 2 commas, right? And Sam has not just 1 or 2 of these awards, but there are 4 of them hanging in the background behind him on this call, and 3 of them are from 3 law firms of his, and the 4th is from his company where he teaches law firms how to do the same for their law firm. So I'm really excited to be able to jump into a conversation with Sam and dig into the behind the scenes. How is he able to create this? How long did it take? What was the process? What can someone else do to kind of piggyback off of what Sam's done and do the same for their law firm? This is going to be an amazing episode. So put on your seatbelts, strap in. This is going to be an absolute wonderful ride. Our team is going to do, any resources that are shared. They're going to share that in the show notes. You can get the show notes at profitwithlaw.com. If you're interested in learning more about our Elite Lawyer program, it all starts with an absolutely free coaching session. So you can book a free coaching session with my coaching staff, where they will spend the time with you to help you understand and overcome the things that might be getting in your way of achieving your success. You'll leave that coaching session invigorated and inspired to be able to continue moving in the right direction. Now, in full disclosure, at the end of that coaching session, they're going to potentially offer you the opportunity to join our Elite Lawyer coaching program. That is the only way that you can get into that. So if that's something that interests you, if you would like some help along the way, then go to profitwithlaw.com/free coaching. Profitwithlaw.com/free coaching takes you right to a calendar booking link. You got to answer some questions on a form there, grab a spot on the calendar, and there's absolutely no commitment. You just have that coaching session, see how you feel, and then decide whether you want to continue the ride with us. Sam, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. That I could not script a better intro than that. Appreciate it, Moshe. And I want to give you props for being a long-term thinker and providing and just being focused on just giving so much value. So appreciate you as well.
I appreciate that. And Sam is also, I didn't even say it, but Sam was also a speaker at our Law Firm Growth Summit. We had our very first summit in 2019. I have no idea when this episode is being released. Our next summit is in December of 2022. It's coming up soon at the time I'm recording this. So I don't know if this is going to be released before or after, but I think it'll be released before. Another exciting thing is Sam has recently published a book, and I'm going to let him talk about that as well on this episode. We have purchased copies here. We run a book club. We're looking at that book for our book club. And anything that Sam has to share, whether it's here on the podcast, whether it's out there on his own social, he's so open and willing to share with everybody. It's always extremely insightful, and also it's always hands-on. It's like tactical approach. This is, just do this, and it's going to work. And even in our previous podcast episode where we talked about getting 1,000 Google reviews, Sam shared his screen and showed us the actual software he was using and the process he was using to make that happen. And I'm sure that we're going to potentially get some of that today as well. So Sam, let's jump right into the nitty gritty here, because I want to make sure we make the best use of this time together. You just told me in the green room before we started how long it took you to get those 4 awards, how long it took you to earn $1 million in each of those law firms. Can you take us through how long did it take for the first one, then the second one, the third, and the fourth?
Sure. So for my first one, it was for my first law firm. That's where I was kind of in the trenches of doing everything myself. I basically had to take on all the calls, answer all the emails, do all the filings, do the marketing, asking for reviews, and essentially everything in between as well. And through those, going through the trenches, I literally had to learn every aspect of the operations of the law firm. And then once worked hard, it took me 5 years to basically be able to generate $1 million for that first law firm. Then at that point, I'm like, hey, this is actually, there's some components in here that are very repeatable. It's the same kind of system to be able to bring in the clients, add them to a CRM, automatically follow up with them, sign them up, serve them, and do the marketing as well. So I basically went and duplicated that, literally same exact system. And that one became my second one. That one took me 3 years. Then at that point, it was kind of like a proof of concept. Let me go do this and let me go share this to other lawyers. So I was able to also earn a 2 Combo Club award for that. That one took me about a year and a half. And then recently I was able to grow my third law firm to multi-million dollars within 10 months, within less than a year. And the reason why I shared this, not to show off, but to really show that it's rinse and repeatable. It's something that could definitely be learned, to be something that could be applied. And everything that I share, I don't just share things that need to be done. I call it, it's experiential learning. First, I learn how to do it myself. I go through the motions. And from that process, I learn exactly what are the practical ways that you need to do to be able to take it. And I share exactly how to do that as well, either with sharing specific templates or systems or things that I could easily, these days, you can literally copy and paste things or, share access with and be able to quickly implement that into your own law firm. And what's really cool about it, Moshe, what I'm even more proud of, is now our first legal funnel member has been able to earn his own 2 Comma Club award for 10 years, who's stuck, within the 100K, making 100K a year range. And by joining, he was able to do $1 million within 12 months of joining the program, which is really eye-opening. And I know that we have a bunch more on the way. These things do take some time, but once you figure it out, then it really opens up your eyes and you're able to kind of do it quicker and in a more repeated fashion.
Yeah, that's incredible. And it's actually, when I started to take a breath to, like, I was going to speak and you jumped into that, I was going to highlight the fact that that I know I saw on social that you had one of your one of your clients come and join you at Funnel Hacking Live, which is their conference where they give out this award, to give him that award. So I think that it speaks volumes, not just the fact that you were able to repeat the process, make it happen in a shorter time frame, but then also have a client take the same process and implement it in their firm. So I want to dive into the process itself. Like, what are the key ingredients that allow you to automate and delegate, to get to that level, but also what do you attribute the changes from each one where you were able to shorten the time frame from one to the next? And we don't have to answer all that in one breath, but that's where I want to go with this conversation, is to try to help people understand that. And real quick, I'm just going to shameless plug for your book. The name of the book is Virtual Law Firm Secrets Book. It's available on Amazon. We're going to link it up in our show notes, but I'm assuming that you cover a lot of this in the book as far as what's involved in the process as well, correct?
Sure. Yeah. A lot of that. We'll get to the automation, but I want to focus. I'm going to try to give as much value as I could in the shortest amount of time. So one thing that I think everybody needs is more clients. So let's talk about that. If you want to scale quickly, I'm going to give you pretty much five steps in order to do that. One is your mindset shift. First, you really have to accept that there's plenty of fish in the sea. There's plenty of things. So there's plenty of clients for you to get. If you haven't, got to that point to get enough clients, maybe you just haven't gotten there yet. So accept the challenge, but just accept that there's hundreds of thousands of clients ready to go for you. Second is, most people try to do a little bit of a lot of things. They try to do a little bit of Facebook. They try to do a little bit of Instagram. They also hear about, I got YouTube. Oh, there's also TikTok. I heard these kids are doing well on TikTok. That does not work. Again, based on experiential ways, things that I've learned. Instead, simplify your life. Focus on one client source, your top client source. And I know this because right now I have some law firms that have 7 sources of clients, but if I analyze it, usually most of the clients come from the top source. Okay. So simplify yourself and always ask yourself, what is the best top source for me? For every practice type, there's always one answer. And I'm actually sitting on that knowledge. That's what I try to share with our legal fund members. It's not just based on what's working, which is very important, what's working now, but it's also based on you. Depending on where you are with your law firm, how much time or money you have, I kind of help you kind of decipher which one you should focus on. But whatever it is, just make sure that you're focusing on one. Third thing is the sources. So there's 2 categories of sources. There's organic and there's paid. Organic is like creating content, creating value for the market. But when I analyze where I'm getting most of my clients, I realize most of my clients, 98% of my clients are coming from paid sources. These are sources like Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, TikTok ads, core ads, all these different paid ad sources. I became an expert in those paid ad sources to rely on those sources to get me clients. And that really, I think, is the epiphany in the last 6 months I've been trying to share out there. Everybody needs to be, do paid ads because that's what works. And again, each paid ad source has its own language, its own methods to be able to do it. And whatever I could pass on to our people that join Legal Funnel, I try to share that. But just know you need one paid ad source. And then the fourth thing I noticed is a lot of people stay stagnant where they are. They're doing the same exact thing that they were doing 6 months ago, or a year ago. You always constantly have to be doing things differently and accept that the only constant is change. So there's always new things you got to be doing, experimenting new things, and just accepting the fact that you always have to do things differently. And then the last thing is, a lot of people, again, I mentioned, stay stagnant, and they stay stagnant because they always have the same budget, or they're doing either money that they spend or the team that they have to be able to send up those clients. So what I do every single month is I analyze what's going on, what's my cost, how many leads am I getting, what's my cost per lead, what's my cost per acquisition, what's the value, what's the ROI. I have certainty with my numbers, and I'm always looking for any excuse to spend more. My budget is always ask myself, should I double down on its budget or should I completely eliminate, stop doing this? And when I ask myself such an aggressive question, it forces me to always want to spend more. So now these days, I'm not joking. I'm like, I can't, I'm looking for any excuse to spend as much money as I could, because I know ultimately if I spend more, I'm usually making more. So just to recap, accept that there's plenty of clients out there. So let go of this this scarcity mindset that's like, I don't know how to get clients. It's hard to get clients. Let go of that. No, it's easy to get clients, and there's plenty of them. So let's just go get it. Second is focus on one source. Stop trying to do everything. Third is learn or go partner up with somebody who knows how to do paid ads, or join a program who can help you with that. Fourth is accept that that the only constant is change. That means you got to do the things differently and go against the gradient. If everybody's doing this, then maybe you shouldn't be doing this. Maybe you should be doing something else. And number five, the easiest way to scale is just to increase your budget.
These are awesome, and there's so much to go into with each one, but I want to pick on a couple of specifics. So you said go with your top source. Now, what if your top source is not scalable? Like, what if the best way that I brought in clients up until now has been referrals, but I don't see how I can continue to grow my referral base exponentially. What do I do with that?
Scalable is a requirement in order for you to have a sustainable long-term business with the least amount of stress. Could you have a business that could make you money? Yes, but that comes with a lot of stress if it's not scalable. You always want to have something that could grow into more, because there's always fluctuations with these sources. Let's just talk about referrals. You could have an amazing good month, right, Moshe? Amazing good month, a bunch of people refer you a bunch of stuff, but the next month is a complete quiet. So I'm always looking to take actions that are scalable. That means it has room to grow. So usually that leads to basically paid ads is usually kind of scalable. And that's what I kind of love about it, because I'm always able to grow into it, versus I'm capped by what the market is giving me.
Right. So it's not just scalability, but it's also predictability, right? I want to make sure that I can scale, and I can predict based on the amount of money that I'm spending that I'm going to get this return from it.
Totally.
Okay.
Exactly.
Awesome. So now when you say that you need to be willing to accept change, and change is part of as part of the game, can you give me some examples of change that you or your clients, had to undergo in order to accept the next level of success?
For sure. And I think the best way to kind of figure out what the change is to know what's going on. That means know exactly with clarity what the market is doing, and the people that are doing the best, exactly what they're doing, and then stay on top of that. What I do is, for all my law firms and everything that I do, I have a long list of all my top direct competitors. I know everybody, and I know everything that they're doing, and I know it to the T, and I study it, and I obsess over it. And I know when somebody changes something, and if other people follow, I know what's happening. And it's that obsession with what the market and what your competitors are doing that really leads you to the conclusions of what decisions you should make. So based on that, if I see things, or if I learn things right away, I'm experimental. I experiment things. It's kind of like a small budget. See how that does. If I see that's positive, then that's when I go apply it across our different law firms and things. So basically, it's like know your competitors and make sure to be experimental.
Now, does the actual service the law firm is providing require scalability or extreme predictability as well? In other words, does it matter if I am creating, LLCs for people, or I'm taking people through a divorce? How something like a divorce, where there's so much hands-on, and there's so much finesse required with the client, and there's so much unknown of what how long this is going to take, and whether it's going to be contested or uncontested, and how far it's going to drag my client through the mud. Does that matter when looking at this type of concept and idea?
I think it depends on three factors. One is what's the value of the client. So you need to know with clarity exactly what's the average lifetime value of this client. Ideally you should be, most good offers and good practice types, usually your value should be 5K or more. If it's anything less than $1,000 or $2,000, you'll always be kind of struggling, because there's a cost to marketing. There's a cost for you to get those clients. And if it's going to cost you $600 to $1,000 to go generate that client, you're always going to be kind of struggling. So make sure that your value is relatively high. Second is, as you shared, there's a cost to it, whether the marketing cost, the operation cost, the lawyer cost, the expenses, the tools, things like that. You also need to have another good grasp of what those costs are for me to be able to serve the clients. If it is divorce, then typically, how many hours do I spend? Who spends that time? And what does that cost to me as the law firm owner. So get clarity on not just what the value is, but also your expenses. And then the third factor I think that's very important is how fast do you collect on those payments. If you're in a practice type that usually takes like 2 or 3 years plus to be able to collect payments, well, you better really have a good cash flow, or you better have a good kind of source of money coming in from either somewhere else or something else that kind of keeps you afloat for those 2.5 years until the money comes back to you. So ideally, what that leads to is it's usually better to be in those practice types that where either you collect money upfront or you're able to actualize on those attorneys' fees within max 18 months, but nothing more than that.
Now, in my experience, often what the reason why somebody who starts their second law firm or adds another practice area, they can have a much more contracted time frame to success. It's often because they've learned how to delegate, and they've learned to bring people on and to hire much faster, to expand their team much faster than they were willing to do the first go around. When you look at the time frame of these various funnels that you've created and how quickly you were able to get them to the volume that they were at, do you attribute some of that to your willingness to be able to delegate quicker?
Oh yeah, totally. I think 0 to 100,000, it's on you, but 100,000 to 1 million, then it's about your team, and then even more so from 1 million to 10 million, it's more about team building and organizations, things like that. Totally. And I being in the trenches of passing this off to other lawyers, I know what kind of belief systems that lawyers have. um we're very analytical. We like being in control. There's like those core little traits that we have, which are usually a good thing, because we're lawyers, we're in control, we control what's going on. But also those become weaknesses at the same time, because you feel like it has to be done your way, or people don't understand it as well, people can't do it as well as me. Or I don't trust people. There's like a huge trust barrier that I have to work with lawyers. How do you know that this person is not going to come and steal your stuff? I'm like, a lot of those things. So you kind of mentally have to get over those. One thing that helps is when you see other people doing it, being part of a mastermind and seeing people grow, and you're like, hey, this is what it takes. Then it kind of helps you grow. But really need to, most law firm owners need to get over those fears and doubts. I call it FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Once you get over those, then a lot of doors will open up for you.
Now, one of the things that you said at the beginning, and I couldn't agree more, is that there's plenty of fish in the sea. Like you need to conquer this mindset of this limited belief that it's hard to get a client, and I'm competing against everybody else for this client, and really develop this abundance mindset around there's so many clients out there, and it's just a matter of me attracting them and getting those clients to come through my door. But a lot of law firms are practicing in a practice area that's geography based, right? So let's say they're I'll go back to family law. Let's say they're dealing with divorce, right? They're not doing divorce across the country. They're doing divorce specifically within their area. There's only so many people going through divorce in their area. So does this stand true for everybody everywhere, or do they need to start thinking differently about what they're offering and who they're offering it to if they want to achieve this kind of success over the way that you've described it?
There's a lot of ways that you could be creative with the way, either how you serve your clients, with what clients you can serve. So there's a lot of creative ways. I'll mention some things to everybody. Referrals, hiring UBE lawyers, um, you know, uh, a lot of the kind of like creative ways like that, where you be able to kind of broaden your geographic location. But yeah, ideally, you are limited. If you're just serving your city, the reality is you're limited by how many people in your city have this problem that are you're gonna hire a lawyer in the next 30 days that you need to sign up for in the next 30 days. So yes, you are limited if you're just targeting just your city. That's the case, then you want to add on other cities or figure out creative ways to expand to state. And if you're state right now, how can I turn this into a multi-state law firm? Is the mindset. But that's the way you gotta be creative about it. And it's also a very easy way to scale. Easy way. No, the way that I think about scaling is just like increasing your budget, increasing the geographic location that you can serve clients in, doing more of it. Those are like basically very relatively easy ways to be able to scale.
Yeah, predictable ways to scale. If you have something that works and you can just place it into another area, then that will definitely help you to scale. So that totally makes sense. I understand that. Now,
Moshe,
one of the things.
if you don't mind, there's something that you mentioned, which
Mhm,
is that self-sabotage and the mindset that lawyers have about it's hard getting clients. And I
mhm.
think it's very important to call this out. This is self-sabotage. If you make it seem to yourself, you convince yourself and you tell yourself it's hard getting clients, or I'm not technical enough, or these kids are like, doing well because they understand these things. All those things are self-sabotage, self-talk that you're convincing yourself. And every time you say that to yourself, you're literally decreasing your chance of you being successful. And it's very important to be conscious of this and flip it. Flip that talk. Stop, talking down on yourself. Stop saying all these things that are not necessarily true. These are just beliefs that you put on yourself. Please, it's a very easy win for people to kind of fix those mental, barriers. But once you do that, I promise things will open up. Again, be very conscious of those self-sabotage limiting belief talks.
Yeah, I love that, and that you focused on that, because the reality is that what we think internally is going to drive our external actions. And if you don't think that it's possible for you to get a client, you could have somebody sitting in the boardroom across the table from you trying to sign them up for your services. But if you don't believe you can get a client, you're not going to convince them that they should be your client. And you have to believe in yourself before anybody else can believe in you. So it makes 100% sense, and I couldn't agree more. I think this happens in every line of business. It's not just attorneys, and anybody can be a business owner and worry about where, can I even get the next client, and what if they say no? But you always need to ask yourself, well, what if they say yes? What if I do find them? What can that make possible? And just continue to expand the abundance mindset and overcome the part of you that's talking down on the possibilities. One of the things that you mentioned is that you need to get really good. I mean, we're talking about paid advertising. We're talking about choosing one source, but you need to get really good at understanding that specific platform and get really good at running ads there. Now, does the attorney, the business owner, need to get really good with running the ads, or do they need to get a marketing agency that is really good at that specific platform that can execute for them? How much of it needs to be our listener, and how much of it needs to be them understanding that this is what I need, and then going out and finding the person to do it?
Exactly. Understanding it so you can go and get somebody to go do it for you. Ideally, I don't believe in big marketing agencies. I'm anti big marketing agencies. There are marketing agencies. I'm not saying all marketing agencies are bad. I'm just saying the big ones. So whatever that means to you. But ideally, what I like is I would like working with freelancers and independent contractors that are kind of dedicated, that are specialized in one certain platform. And yeah, ideally, if they already have recent case studies for that practice specific type, then even better. But I love working with freelancers. That's all they live and breathe and do all day long. Versus a marketing company that usually has a sales team that signs you up and then they pass you off to the marketing, and then you become client number 612. You get lost. And then they set it up for you. I always knows how it goes. They set it up for you, but by month 5 or 6, they already forgot about you. And until you check in and you poke the bear every couple of months, hey, what's going on? They won't do much for you. So what I do is I know what will make it successful, and I basically become a support for my marketer who comes and does it for me. Again, that's one of the benefits of my legal funnel program is I kind of share those good resources of either me sending you referrals to those people, or showing you exactly how to find those people the same way that I have, being resourceful about it. But yeah, I don't expect lawyers to sit there and make their own Google Ads campaigns. You should not be. If you are, you're probably losing against these people who are dedicated and focused in on only doing those things. So yeah, be very conscious of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you shared that and explained it that way, because I would argue with you if you said anything differently, right? Honestly, the business owner has to, the bigger that you get, the more you need to be asking that question of who, not how. And you need to start that way from day one. And if you're not, ultimately at the beginning, you might be doing a lot of things, but you need to figure out how to get those off your plate as quickly as possible. You know, you shared that from 0 to 100,000 is on you, and then from 100,000 to 1 million is on your team. And the only caveat that I would add to that is the only reason 0 to 100 is on you is because most law firm owners don't recognize that they need to hire somebody from day one. But the reality is that you really should be amassing a team from the get-go. You really should be bringing on your first assistant, even before you have your first client, and understanding that the growth of your firm is directly tied to the growth of your team. This has all been amazing. One thing that you said is, is as we dive into the market, the number one marketing thing, and it needs to be scalable, it needs to be predictable. We really are talking about paid ads, and it's just a matter of which platform it's on. Does that mean that I'm saying no to all the other things I was doing? Like, is there no place for doing YouTube videos and no place for doing blog posts and how do we navigate that? And you have your own YouTube channel, right? So is it possible that you're now saying, well, everything I did, I've now learned from that, and I really shouldn't have done that because just running some paid ads on YouTube is going to do the same thing for me, and that was a lot of wasted effort?
Yeah, it does mean taking a very aggressive approach and really stopping everything that you're doing and really analyzing what has worked so far and what hasn't, making some changes based on that, doing more of the one that is doing well for you, and then completely cutting out the ones who haven't already, and being very stern about it. It means you don't go back and you don't dabble and you don't do a little bit of it. You just literally stop. And then I would go figure out the paid ads one. Again, just one. Make sure that that is converting. It's generating you clients consistently. You know your numbers. And when you have been able to kind of scale that up and make sure that your system, that you built a system to be able to take on all those clients, and it's fully automated and it's doing its thing, then that's a trigger for you to go to focus on client number source number 2. It's very hard to get any of these things to work if you're doing them at the same time. So just drop everything, become hyper focused on just one, do whatever it takes to get this to work. And then once you see that it's doing its thing, then you move on, basically.
Do you think it's possible that the stuff that we're doing that's not paid might be helping the paid results? Like, I built a YouTube channel, and now when somebody goes and sees my ad, first thing they're going to do is check me out. And now they find my YouTube channel and they say, oh, wow, this guy's got all these videos. He's legit. I can move forward. Or do you think that that's really not happening? They're clicking a link on the paid ad. They're showing up on the website. I've got some testimonials there and they're good to go.
The most idealistic system is to have one paid ad source with your one top organic source, which does the nurturing, as you mentioned, with your email list, which is basically a way for you to, increase those touch points and follow up automatically. That's the most ideal. So yeah, totally. And then when it comes to organic, there are some better choices than others. And hopefully I'll be able to share that with your audience, which one most people should focus on right now. We're recording this in end of September 2022, but no, these things could change, but you could probably get some clues and I'll share that with you. So let's go through the top list. The first one is YouTube. So YouTube is actually my number one out of all of the organic sources because it has a higher barrier of entry. Okay. Whatever in life is the higher barrier entry, that means less people are less likely to do it. Right. Less people are less likely to do it. And that means when you do it, it usually will bring you better results. So it's one of those things that has higher barrier entry, like such as writing a book. Not that people write a book. When you do write a book, it's very effective. It's just the same kind of mindset. Second, it's usually most things in life. If you play the long-term game, you're usually are doing better than the people that are playing short-term. So these Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff are short-term kind of sided platforms. YouTube is the exact opposite. It's long-term. The videos that you post now, I don't expect anything in the first 12 months. These videos, I just expect in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That's when it's really gonna pay off for me. So I'm playing this long-term kind of game with YouTube. And the third is the mentality of the people that are on those platforms. What state are they in? Well, if they're on YouTube, they're sitting there, they're watching a 10-minute video of you. And that usually does a lot better job of nurturing people and builds a lot stronger relationship than just one of the people that you just happen to see on TikTok for 5 seconds. And next thing you know, you're like watching next one, next one, next one, next one. There's a lot more of those people. A good analogy to give this to is 1,000 followers is the same as 100 followers on Instagram, which is the same as one subscriber on YouTube. It's like one practical, not one kind of analogy to put it. So a subscriber on YouTube is a lot more valuable than, let's say, 100 or 1,000 followers on TikTok. So my number one is YouTube for a long-term game. But if you are going to do YouTube, just know it's a long-term play. That means you cannot just dabble in it. You can't do just one video a week. Either do three videos a week, or don't do it. And also keep in mind, you need to do it for at least 12 months, if not for pretty much forever, indefinitely, in order to do it. So if you're not willing to, kind of dedicate yourself to that, then I would probably not do YouTube. Second most effective one is TikTok. The reason why it's so effective is because there's a lot of eyeballs and a lot of time being spent on TikTok these days, probably more than any other social media these days. But it has its downside, again, because it's so easy. It has a very low barrier of entry. Then a lot of people can do it, and you have a lot of competition. And there isn't, from what I understand, there isn't that much nurturing and relationship building done through TikTok because there's so many people that you're going through. So, and also when you do get followers, TikTok's algorithm is always trying to show you new people. It doesn't really show you people that you already been following. So there isn't that much ongoing nurturing that happens with TikTok. So it's good. It gets a lot of eyeballs. You'll be able to grow very quickly, but I'm not sure how much room it has to grow in the future. So my money, honestly, if I were to go one or the other, I'm leaning towards YouTube, if not TikTok. And then third, possibly much lower than for those two would be Instagram. But honestly, I don't have that much confidence in Instagram. Again, looking forward where it will be in 3 to 5 years. So so those are like essentially the top two organic sources. And then just make sure also third leg of this is your email list. Make sure that you're always consistently building that up. You also have your automations that are automatically emailing people as they join your email list. And also you're systematically every week they're hearing from you when you're sending these broadcast emails.
Now, what about top paid traffic sources? Do you have an opinion on that? Is YouTube the number one there as well?
No, right now, it seems like Facebook still has the has the crown right now. But YouTube, I would say over time will be the one to watch for. So yeah, it seems like to me right now, Facebook number one, YouTube number two, and then Google and TikTok number three. And each of them do really well if you know what you're doing. And again, it's one of those things where it's practice specific, and I'm actually sitting on what works for which practice areas, and that's what I share. And I share resources about how to go get those made for you.
Yeah, and I mean, they're like, if you compare Google and Facebook, they're two completely different marketing types, right? The Google is, you've got somebody actively searching for a solution. Facebook, you're basically interrupting somebody to present them with a solution. So it really depends on who it is that you're talking to. If you're a criminal lawyer, Google's going to be the place to be, because you're not going to be talking about criminal law on Facebook and hoping that eventually when they get locked up, they're going to remember they saw your Facebook ad 3 years ago. But at the same time, somebody who's doing estate planning, they have to educate the market on the fact that an estate plan is necessary, and their Facebook ads are going to make a lot more sense. It also really is important for you to understand who you're marketing to and how are they looking for you, or how are they finding you. Do they have a current need that they're looking to solve, or is it something that they have that they don't really know that they need?
Totally. The thing to keep in mind with Google, it's the easiest and it's the most dependable way to get clients, but also it's very saturated, and you're limited by how many searches there are in your geographic location. The benefit of Facebook, as you mentioned, is you're just interrupting people, regular people who are not necessarily looking for a lawyer, but you're interrupting them, say, hey, if you have this problem, or if you have this problem, then you might be entitled to these things, then you have to get them that way.
Now, and I don't think you want to get too far into the paid ad conversation probably today, but with something like Facebook, the in the way that traditional marketers teach how to do Facebook is, you want to provide information that they're going to be interested in, and then maybe when they saw your video and you see a certain amount of video view percentage, then send them another one and kind of warm them up to you that way. Is that the most effective way, or is it straight to an offer, straight to a, hey, if you have this problem, click here? What's the right way to do that kind of interruption based marketing when looking to build consistency in your law firm?
Two objectives. Either one is generate leads using Facebook lead forms, or two, which is send them to a quote unquote funnel to be able to nurture them and educate them and follow up with them to get them to book a call, to get them as a client. So those are a short way to kind of expand the objective.
Awesome. Yeah, and I love that, and so many times we try to get fancy and create all these multiple layers when it might be so simple as just, hey, just present this in front of them and let them raise their hand and say, yeah, I'm interested. And the other thing is that we tend to forget how much it costs to acquire a client. And, you shared a number like, hey, it costs you $1,000 to acquire the client. You got to make sure that you got $5,000 to $6,000 of revenue at least coming from that. Now, it doesn't mean that you're paying that per lead, because not every lead turns into a client. But if every 10 leads turns into a client, you have to be willing to spend $100 per lead to make that happen. And I think that people forget that. They don't realize that. They hear the other people talking about how they're getting 50-cent leads on Facebook, and then they get worried when they're spending a certain amount of money and they have very, very little to show for it.
Yeah, and I actually had an epiphany during Rosh Hashanah about this, which I'll share. It's my first time sharing this epiphany. So in most things in life, when it comes to getting something, the epiphany is if you can do the calculations backwards, it would always lead to a better results than if you're trying to do the calculation forward. The world always does the calculation forward. How much does it cost me? What's the cost per click? How many clicks? All that stuff. That's forward kind of thinking, forward calculation thinking. I think I have to come up with a better phrase for this. I'm just trying to explain the concept. But instead, if you flip it around and the mindset is, what do I get out of this? What's the value that I get from this expected thing that I'm about to do? And you pre-plan, you work backwards. That I want 3 clients. 3 clients is worth $15,000 to me. If $5,000 per client, $15,000. $15,000 means I need to get, in order for me to get 3 clients, I need to get 300 leads with a 1% conversion rate. That means technically I could spend $20 per lead. As long as I send up 1% of the leads, then I will get 3 clients, et cetera, et cetera. Just a short little summary of this. But when you go backwards, then that kind of opens up your eyes and allows you to create a budget and be upfront so that you're willing to spend up to this amount on your marketing. And the same idea could actually be applied to, it's a really cool idea, Moshe, with how much money you should donate. In Judaism, we have you should give 10%, minimum 10% of however much money you make back to charity, right, Moshe?
Yep.
And even up to 20%. There actually it should be 20%, but most people say 10%. But what most people do is they do it based on how much money they make. They say, oh, this year I made $100,000, so that means I'm supposed to give $10,000, and they give $10,000. The different and better mindset is, how much money do I want to make this year, and divide that by 10, and that's how much you should give. So this year, I know I made $100,000, but next year I want to make $200,000, and 10% of $200,000 is $20,000. That means I'm willing to spend $20,000 this going forward, pledge this much going forward. It's very subtle. Again, it's one of those things. It's like, okay, but really, it really is. I think like it's cool secret sauce of being successful in life. Do your calculations backwards. Always start with the end in mind and go backwards.
Yeah, and this is a concept that Stephen Covey wrote in his book, which is to begin with the end in mind. And I love it. We do that internally for our own marketing efforts. That's how we've set our marketing budget, based on the knowledge that we have on what it costs us to acquire a client and what our goals are for our revenue. But I really like applying this to other things. How much philanthropy do you want to do? How much do you want to donate? If your donations are X percentage of your revenue, earmark that amount for donations and work your way backwards. Now, how much revenue do you need to make in order to make that happen? So I love that. I love that concept, and it can be applied in so many different ways. It could be applied to the staff that you're going to hire, right? Like, if I know that in order to bring home $1 million, I need to have a $5 million law firm, and in order to have a $5 million law firm, I need to have 4 attorneys working for me. And I only have 2 right now, then I know that I need to hire 2 more attorneys. Now, yeah, you're not going to do that overnight, but now that's on your radar for your projects for the next 12 months. Is sometime in the next 12 months, we're bringing on 2 more attorneys. And in order to make that happen, we got to have the client flow. We got, so it's a circle, but they all lead off of each other. And if you're really clear about what you want and how it is that you're going to get there, that's really what's going to move the needle on your actions. And that's why I love talking about planning, because this is what goes into the planning, is really defining what your end point looks like and then working your way backwards from there.
Fully.
So Sam, it's really time for us to wrap up. It goes by so quick, and I love every time that we get to have a conversation, and this has been no different. I mean, really, so many value bombs that were dropped, and I mean, we're gonna have to pick this episode apart piece by piece to really dive into all of that with and share it with our audience the way that we do on social and stuff like that. But I want to give you an opportunity to talk about the book you recently wrote, how people can get in touch with you. And I always leave with, what is one piece of advice? And you've been giving advice the whole episode. But if our listeners had to choose one thing to listen to and take action on, what would that one parting piece of wisdom be that you leave them with? And then also, of course, share with us about your book and next steps they can take if they want to learn more about your legal funnels group.
Sure. So the subtitle of the book is How to Run Your Law Firm So It Doesn't Run You. Because I realized that was probably one of the biggest pain points, is that, yeah, you could have a law firm that's doing its thing, but over time you kind of get lost in it because things are going. And then, we get into the situations where like we're putting out fires, or I'm doing a little bit of this, I'm doing a little bit of that. So what this book is, a very practical ways to be able to automate pieces of the most important parts of your law firm, such as automatically following up with your leads, how to automatically get your emails answered, how to hire people, how to hire virtual people from your law firm, how to collect a lot of good reviews, and a lot of other kind of epiphanies and things that I share with you. If you kind of change those mindsets, then it will really make a big impact for your law firm. So you'll be able to find it on Amazon. Again, it's called Virtual Law Firm Secrets. It'll kind of expose you to all these very fresh concepts. Nothing in this book has ever been shared anywhere else. Everything is, I made it on purpose. I made it very fresh. These things will be very universal, will become universal over time. It just might be a little bit ahead of its time right now. So feel free to grab it. And then the epiphany kind of lesson for everybody is, actually I put up a poll today in our Facebook group saying, hey, what do you want to do with your law firm? Basically, like what matters for you. So the options are, I would like to scale my law firm, I'd like to grow my law firm, I'd like to simplify my law firm, I'd like to automate my law firm, I'd like to free up my time for my law firm. The one that won, which I kind of had an idea that it would be, is automate my law firm. I want to basically, what automate means, to be able to kind of create the systems for it to do its thing, kind of free yourself up. So that's basically my mission, is to free up lawyers, to help them automate the law firm so that the law firm doesn't run them.
I love that. And of course, Sam, thank you very much for being here and sharing all this with us. Folks, we're going to link all this up in the show notes. We'll have a link to directly to Amazon to purchase the book, as well as, did you share how they can take next steps with you if they want to learn more about?
Yeah, if anybody's interested, I encourage you to just go to legalfunnel.com. You'll see all of our case studies there. Book a call. Please mention that you came from Moshe's recording. I want to keep track of it. So that be able to hopefully be able to incentivize Moshe and be able to, help them with that. So please just mention Moshe's name in his podcast. And yeah, just go to legalfunnel.com.
Attend a free coaching session with one of our coaches, and you can get there at profitwithlaw.com/free coaching. So I invite you to take advantage of that. There's really no strings attached, even though there is an opportunity to join our program at the end. There's no pressure. There's no obligation. We're not a high pressure sales team. If it's for you, great. If not, also great. So take advantage of that free coaching session and go to profitwithlaw.com/free coaching. Awesome. Legalfunnel.com. Folks, we're going to link this all up in the show notes. You can access show notes in the description of your podcast player, as well as on profitwithlaw.com. Every episode has a complete blog post from that episode, including a resources section with all of these resources linked up for you. Sam, it's always a pleasure having you here. I really appreciate the time you've taken to share with our audience. And this is, so much value provided in this episode. Going to have to go back and listen to it multiple times, take some notes, because this is stuff that needs to be shared and needs to be said. Really want a lot of law firms to achieve success, and they can do that by taking episodes like this and really taking them to heart and taking action from them. And the key is not to just listen to it and move on to the next one, but to listen to it, write down one or two things you're going to implement, and then just do that. Whether it's having a conversation with Sam, or whether it's just cutting out some of the marketing things you're doing that are wasting your time, whatever the thing is for you, just take action on it. And speaking of taking action, the way that our podcast grows is by you sharing an episode with a friend. So if you thought this was valuable, grab a link to this episode and just text it to one of your friends who is running a law firm that can get value from this. And if each one of the people listening to this does that, then we can make this the second most downloaded episode in the history of our podcast.
Good things happen when you do good, and when you share a piece of good value to someone else. A lot of people, I do this all the time. If I'm watching something, my mindset is like, who else can learn from this that's applicable to their life? Just text it to people. You don't have to give it context. Just text them like, hey, I was thinking about you. That's it. You don't have to tell them. And yeah, well, good things will come back to you by doing that.
Awesome. Folks, we're here every week with a new episode on Thursdays. Sometimes we throw in an extra one for you, but definitely you can know that and predict that that's going to be coming. We have another great interview coming your way next week. Take care. We'll see you soon. Have you been enjoying the show? We sure hope so. To make sure you never miss an episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button in your podcast player app. Next week, we will be back with more valuable resources and ideas on how to break the mold and take your law firm to the next level.